All right, I think we're live. Welcome to my Demon School launch stream. We've got a really special stream in store tonight. We've got special guest composer Kurt Feldman joining us in about 30 minutes on a Zoom call. I'll patch him into the meeting here. Demon School, if anybody is unaware of what it is, this game is a Shin Megami Tensei and Italian horror-inspired tactical game from Necrosoft is the name of the developer. And like I said, the soundtrack is by Kurt Feldman, who is a fantastic composer. He's released a couple of solo albums under the name Ice Choir that happen to be some of my personal favorite albums. And he was nice enough to agree to do this stream with us tonight. Like I said, he's going to join us in about 30 minutes, 7:30 Central Time on the dot. And in the meantime, I'm going to roll up a new file on this game just so that everybody knows a little bit what it's about and we can see some of Kurt's music in the game. There's actually a really cool little mini documentary about the making of this game over on the NoClip2 YouTube channel with the lead developer. And he mentioned that the goal here with the aesthetic on the game was to make it look and feel like it came from an imaginary console that never existed, which was the Sega Saturn II. And I think he kind of nailed that with the look here. I say he, but the whole team. It's a decent sized team that worked on this, but it is an indie studio. All right, so I'm finally getting away from my parents, says the wistful student. The less enthusiastic student says, I knew I shouldn't have tried to dress up for the boat ride. I can't wait to get to college, bro. The keggers, the ladies. I was thinking I'd study and stuff. All right, so this I think advances the story here. So Faye, I believe, is the main character here we're controlling. She goes, so college, huh? And Namiko goes, well, yes, and you are? I'm Faye. I wanted to talk to you, but I don't really know how to start a conversation. I can see that. I'm Namiko. Nice to meet you. See, I'm coming to the island for a specific reason. Did you know there hasn't been a demon sighted for over 300 years? Weird when you think about it. Is it? But they're coming soon. They're coming to Hempsk Island. Demons are coming soon? And the apocalypse is coming right behind them. Oh, that sounds neat. Hey, listen, I'm just gonna go to the bathroom below deck. I might be a while. Don't worry if you can't find me after. Good idea. Gotta be ready for anything when we get there. It's gonna be a wild ride. Yep, great. See you later. So as the reviews have been coming in for this game today, it's been mostly positive to slightly mixed, but I think that most of the reviews that have been mixed on it, it's just a matter of taste. It's got kind of the vibe of a Saturday morning cartoon to me, which I enjoy. But I can see if people were looking for something a little bit deeper or more serious, this isn't that, but that's fine because this game, from what I've seen, all the characters in it are really fun, really well written. And as we'll see here in a second, Kurt's soundtrack is an absolute banger. And again, he'll be here at 7:30 on call to talk to us about that. All right, so Faye says, that went well. Did that go well? I'll try again tomorrow. We've got a few more days on the ocean. Yeah, tomorrow. And again, this sort of 2D sprite on a 3D background look is pretty sweet. The battle system here is really cool too. It's a little bit of a different take on a tactical battle system, as we'll see. All right, okay class, sorry to spring this on you, but this field trip to the terrifying abandoned wing of the school isn't just for fun. It isn't? I'm afraid not. There are creatures in here that we need to research, and we need to determine whether you can deal with them. So again, here we've got Kurt's music for the first time. Just absolutely killer stuff, no surprise there. Creatures? Is this like a research project or something? You can think of it like that. The four of you ought to be able to capture one so that we can... What is that? Nothing to worry about. I'll just be back here. Do your best and try to grab a hold of it. But what even is it? I knew I shouldn't have come to this stupid island. Come on, let's just take a look. Is that... Alright, so the students are exploding into a spray of blood. That was not a good result. Looks like we're gonna have to try another approach before the new students arrive. I'll just make a note. Again, it's got a calendar system, kind of like Persona. There's a lot of different influences on this game, but it looks like it's done a really good job iterating on all of them. It doesn't feel derivative. It feels good. All right, and that's why demonology is actually rich with nuance. I see. How did I get stuck listening to this person the whole trip? Why me? I know you're skeptical, but wait till we get to the island. You'll see. You, off to the left. You, to the right. Let's see now. Your name, Faye? That's me. To the right, then. What is all this? Just keep quiet and move. Alright, let's see who we got. Makoto Nakamura? It's Namiko now. Well, whatever you call yourself. You go to the left. Okay. Wait, what happens to the people that go to the left? Back on the boat. Wait, what? I'm not going back. I just got here. That's right, she's not going back. I say she is. The list says she is, so off she goes. That's not what's happening. She needs to be here. Again, I'm working from a list. She's not on it. Well, put her on it then. You want to go back home too? Alright, so we've got a bunch of these black coat guys now. Nope, she and I are staying, Namiko. Get ready. Wait, ready for what? I appreciate you trying to help, but ready to fight. What? I can't fight. You can. You're a demon hunter like me. What? Just follow my lead. Alright, so again, Kurt is the composer. He's going to be joining us about 20 more minutes here. 7:30 my time, 8:30 Eastern. And so here's some more of his music, and one of the cool things that I've noticed in my initial time with the game is that all of the battle songs have, two phases. There's a planning phase and an action phase to the battles, and the song has like the same chord progression and melody across each one, but it's like, you'll see. It's like it's kind of suppressed for the planning phase and then really swells into what it's meant to be for the action phase. And it just shows a lot of flexibility with Kurt being able to accomplish that with every single battle song and having it work pretty seamlessly here in the actual game. All right, so here's the battle system that again is pretty different from your typical tactical battle system. So it starts with the planning phase. You actually plan all your character's movements in advance and then they play out. So it says to plan a move, first select a character and target a tile. It wants me to target the enemy here. So you can see that Faye is the damage dealer and she pushes enemies back one tile, and it spends action points, of which you get, I think it's like 5 or 6 per turn or something. I haven't played enough of it to know what sort of RPG elements are or aren't here, but I imagine like you'll get different things that might extend the action points. We'll see. But then also each subsequent time you use a character in a given turn, it costs more action points to do so. And then Namiko here, she's not actually a damage dealing character. She pulls people towards her one spot and makes them more vulnerable to damage. All right, so it wants me to select Faye again and attack this guy. Again, I want to make clear, I didn't say this initially, but this is not a sponsored stream or anything. I bought this game with my own money, and I just happened to I happen to know Kurt a little bit, and he was super kind and agreed to do this stream with me here tonight. But I gave it a spin this morning so that I'd know what I was talking about here. All right, so now that they're lined up with each other, Faye can actually phase through enemies and hit everybody that's in a line. And then once you've lined up all your action points, that's when you actually start the turn, and everything we just planned plays out. And you can hear the real music kick in, because this is now the battle phase of the turn. All right, Namiko says, why can't I move the way I want to? We're in between human and demonic space. Don't start with that. You can only move in straight lines, but here's a little move I learned from my grandfather. So you can also sidestep, and everything you do after you sidestep uses 0 AP, but I believe the sidestep initially uses AP. So yeah, it wants me to move Namiko over here and hit this guy, because you can also move diagonally. And that pulls them into a line now for Faye to get them all. Then it also says that was pretty good, but we can do better. At any time during the planning phase, you can rewind moves and try something else. Rewind the last move with the rewind button. So again, it encourages experimentation here. If you plan everything out and you figure out 3-4 moves deep that it's not working out how you thought, you can back up to the end of the last action phase. So now it says to get that guy instead, and to sidestep with Faye, and now get those two in a line. All right, Faye says she's got just the trick for Namiko getting tired. Specials are useful secondary skills that can turn the tide of battle. A character can use their special when their special points are full. SP are gained by performing actions and passively gained at the beginning of each turn. We are almost out of action points, but Faye's special is ready. So again, each character has a special. Looks like I activate it with Y. I'm playing on the Nintendo Switch version of this game. It is available on like all consoles and on Steam. All right, so each character has their own attack style and special. While the cursor is over any character, check their information in the info box on the top right. So it tells you, about their special, what their normal attack does, if they have any resistances, what the HP is at, standard stuff up there. All right, so there's 2 more of them. Don't worry, I've got an idea. Characters can create combo attacks by pushing or pulling enemies into other friendly characters. Combo attacks deal significant elemental damage based on the special elements of characters involved. Alright, so it wants me to take Faye and sidestep up to him. And he is weak against flame and metal, which I'm guessing one of those is what our attack does. Alright, the battle's target objective is seen here. In this case, we need to defeat 8 enemies. If this is done and the battle is ended within 3 turns with no friendly characters dying, you'll receive perfect marks. Now that all usable AP have been exhausted, hold the action button to watch it all play out. Right, so again, in a little under 20 minutes now is when composer Kurt Feldman will be joining us for a little conversation. I really want to see what he has to say about this soundtrack, because there's some pretty cool stuff. And almost every reviewer that's reviewed this game has made specific note of the soundtrack too. Again, it's just banger after banger. All right, once the target objective has been met, send any character to the lit sigils at the end of the board. The sigils only light once the objective has been met. All right, so essentially you have to kill a minimum number of characters and then get one of your characters to the other side of the board to win a battle. And if characters get to your side of the board, you lose a battle. Now it's gonna actually let me just kind of play on my own here to finish the battle. I suppose I'll go up there with Namiko. Then, I suppose also pull that guy with, oops. Pull that guy with Namiko maybe. I'm really not sure here. All right, we'll go with, oops. Sorry, still getting used to exactly how the battle system works here. This tutorial battle is as far as I went earlier. All right, so we're out of usable AP, so we'll end the turn. We're not gonna get it in 3 turns here, so there must have been a more optimal way to solve that one. All right, so now we've killed 8, so now we just need to get somebody up there. I think you only need 1, but we'll get them both up there. All right, so yeah, we only get a B. And then I love that the battle screen when you finish says go back to hell. And I don't know what the class credits, demon trophies, and opals are all about, but you get different currency, and I think that The grade you get on the battle is reflected in how much currency you get for it. All right, damn, you kids are tough. All right, let them go, but the rest of you stay in line. Well, I don't quite get what just happened, but thanks, I think. No problem. Like I said, you need to be here. But shouldn't we tell somebody about this? I don't think that's gonna help. All right, so now the cops come in finally. Oh good, there we are. Sorry to bother you, but should these people really determine who can go to college on the island? They're gangsters, and they're fighting people? Huh, I didn't see anything like that. But it just happened, they fought us. You making trouble over here? Maybe I should just take you down to the station. See, let's get out of here. Okay, but I'm not done talking about this. Again, if anybody just tuned in, 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern is when Kurt will be joining us on call. All right, so let's just advance the story here. Phew, heck of a first day on the island, huh? So your full name is Makoto Nakamura? Yeah, I got bullied a lot in my last school. They shortened it and called me Namako. Does that mean something? Sea slug. Wow, that's actually kind of cool though. So you like reclaimed it or something? Actually, yeah, that's exactly what I did. Your words have no power over me anymore, William. Yeah, get him. But thanks for what you did back there. I had no idea I was capable of fighting like that. What do you think they were doing there? Okay, I know you think I'm off the deep end, but I really do believe there's demons here on this island. I also believe an apocalypse is coming. They were sorting us for some reason, something related to that. I also know that the Nakamura family was fighting demons many generations ago. My grandfather told me. That's why I kinda need you to be here. I'm not sure how I feel about any of that. You don't have to believe me now, but demons are coming, and I have proof. Or something like it. My family passed down this prophecy for hundreds of years. Take a look. What exactly am I looking at? We believe this shows that after 2,000 years from the prophecy's creation, a portal to the demon world will open up and demons will take over the world. So like a Y2K thing? Like how all the computers are supposed to go down? That's just a coincidence, but yeah, Y2K. All right, so I think that maybe that places the timing of this game. My grandfather believed that this document was created after a catastrophic demonic event to warn us when it would happen again. This is all pretty hard to swallow. This paper could be anything, from any time. I know, but demons used to be everywhere. Things like vampires, werewolves, even Frankenstein's monster. All those folktales actually describe demons that I've seen in my books, texts that predate the authors who made them famous. You studied this with your grandfather, I guess? Yeah. To be clear, it's not like I've ever seen a demon myself either. I just learned the traditions. My parents weren't interested, but I took it pretty well. My grandfather told me he was the last practicing... I took to it pretty well. My grandfather told me he was the last practicing demon hunter in the world. The last in a long line, and now I guess I am. Oh, I'm sorry. That's okay, he was old, and he managed to teach me everything he knew. For some reason, I can't remember exactly how he passed, or when. But anyway, a lot of our ancient texts were lost, and this prophecy is all I have left. But I've seen a registry of ancient demon hunting families, and that's where I saw Nakamura. I guess you're serious about that. Yeah, that's why I was bugging you all trip. Sorry, I saw your name on the ship log. So you're telling me I'm some sort of demon hunter throwback, and you're snooping through ship logs? I don't know how it works, but apparently demon hunter blood is special, maybe through their proximity to demons back in the day. But trust me, I know this is going to happen and it's going to happen here. Either way, I need you on my team. I'll snoop through all the logs I gotta. Team, I'm sorry, but I really don't buy this. I appreciate you helping me stay, but I don't really want to fight gangsters again, or anyone else for that matter, anytime soon. I hear you. Well, if you could just stick with me for a few days, I think I'll be able to prove it to you. I'm not sure that's something I want proved. All right, so it looks like we get dialogue choices here. Another interesting thing I wanted to make sure that I pointed out about this game before we get to our call with Kurt is that this is one of the handful of games that originally was slated to release right around the same time as Silksong, and they moved it out of the way of that. And I seen post on Reddit where apparently there was a huge uptick in wish lists on Steam for it, and today, it's a light release day in the middle of November on a Wednesday, but all the video game news that I've seen has pretty much been on Demonschool. A little bit that's probably algorithmic, but it goes without saying that it was a good move for them to do that, and it proves the principle of moving a smaller game out of the way of a bigger game and seeing results from it. So one of my chatters said this song gives me Xenoblade Chronicles 3 menu music vibes. I absolutely agree, and that's also one of my favorite songs from any games. So we'll be assertive. All right, those gangsters want you off the island, right? You got to stick with me. It's true, but well, fine. You've got a deal, but just a few days. That's all I need. You won't regret it. If you say so, but we need to get to the gym, right? The dean is going to address the new students. Lead the way. How would I know where it is? I just got here too. Then let's wander around until we find it. All right, as time passes and we need to find the gym. Time passed and I think the music changed again. Kurt's soundtrack here is like 37 songs and close to 2 hours of music. It's a little crazy. All right, so we head in the world, and that must be where the gym is. All right, a little less than 10 minutes now, Kurt will be joining us. Phew, just made it. Late on my first day, this isn't a great start. Welcome, students, to your first year at our prestigious academy. As you may have noticed, our selection process was a little more rigorous this year. This only means you're the best of the best. Yeah, right, this place is at the bottom of every college ranking. This institution has weathered many storms, and for some of you, this may be the most difficult period of your lives. For others, the last. Wait, what? We expect big things from you, bigger than you may realize. Careful, madam. I only meant to say we expect the world of you. Together we will make this world a better place. She almost let slip what the real deal is there. Oh, that was kind of weird. It was, not really what I was expecting. Well, tomorrow's a new day. Let's hit the town to celebrate our first night on the island. I don't know what you consider hitting the town, but I would like to take a look around. Well, that's the spirit. So again, we've got like major Persona vibes and how the game plays out with the daily calendar, and you get to kind of like go to different locations before each day culminates in a battle. If you've played Persona or Shin Megami Tensei, which they cited as a direct inspiration, you kind of got the general feel for the format of the game here. All right, so they're gonna go get some pretzels. Good, just like we planned. Hey, wait, you kids aren't supposed to be here. Huh? We're getting pretzels. That's what they all say. Get them. I'm not so hungry anymore. Neither am I. I'm out of here. Come on, we're hitting the town. Pretend these guys are the town. Bye forever. That's all right. We can take them out ourselves, Namiko. But why? Why would we do that? Why are we doing this? All right, so we have our next battle. I'm gonna grab a quick drink of water here. Actually, give me 1 second. I gotta get the call started so Kurt can call in when it's time. About 6 minutes now. Hopefully the sound is all right there on the stream. My headphones cut out a bit, but all right. Let me see here. I'm trying to think if we should start this battle or it's getting close to time for Kurt to call in. I'll just start battling a little bit here. All right, so Move her up there for an attack. Then Namiko. No. Start with Namiko. Pull them back. Then we have Faye. No. Namiko pull you diagonal. Then Faye can sidestep and get two at once. I think that's the general idea of how they want us to approach this combat. And then yeah, we don't have enough AP to move anyone else. Alright, and then Kurt is actually here in the waiting room, so I'm going to toss up a waiting screen while I get the call connected, and then when we come back, we'll have Kurt Feldman, composer of this awesome soundtrack. I've got a handful of questions lined up for him, because I know that's really what you guys are all here for tonight, but I appreciate you hanging out with me for 30 minutes playing this game in the meantime. So I'm going to throw up this screen real quick, and when we come back, we'll have Kurt. All right, so I'm back with composer Kurt Feldman. He did the soundtrack for Demonschool, that awesome soundtrack we've been listening to. How are you doing tonight, Kurt? Oh, thank you for coming on. I'm stoked that you were willing to do this. I'm a very small creator, so being able to get somebody involved with the game on stream with me was really exciting. So I'm thankful for that. So why don't you start out and just tell us a little bit about yourself, you know, what you do. Obviously video game soundtracks, but I mentioned that you've also released a couple solo albums under the name Ice Choir. I know you've also got Winter Station and all that. Oh, hold on one second, Kurt. Sorry, your audio is apparently... That was my mistake. Could you repeat yourself? I had you muted. I do apologize. We're all good to go now.
Yeah. No problem. Hello, everyone. I'm Kurt Feldman. I'm a composer and musician. Thank you again, Anthony, for having me. I don't know if the chat caught that part or whatever, but yeah, I'm a composer, musician, sound designer. And I was responsible for all the music and sound design for Demonschool.
Yeah, so 37 tracks in almost 2 hours. That's a lot. As far as I know, that's probably like the biggest scope for a project I'm aware of you've worked on. So that's impressive. It's a lot of music. And it's very listenable on its own, too, and available on his Bandcamp for a very reasonable $10. So if you like what you heard, support Kurt. Again, awesome independent musician. We're all about supporting independent musicians, artists, creators here on this channel. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you came to be involved in video game soundtracks and how you came to be the composer for Demonschool?
Yeah, for sure. So I guess I started making music for games maybe, I don't know, I think 2010 was probably when I first started doing it. That was, I kind of got started with it, I had a friend from high school who we kind of reconnected after he had heard my old band at the time. And we started, he was into the music, and we kind of reconnected, and we collaborated on some like visualization software for that band, and then shortly after that, we kind of came up with the idea. I was like, hey, I have this idea for a game. Would you be interested in, essentially just coding the game and doing all the hard work, and I'll like, make the music for it and the sound design. So that was kind of my first foray into, game sound design. Before that, I really, I didn't have any like formal training with like sound design or whatever. The band that I was playing with like had, it was like loosely like an electronic band with some guitars and stuff. And there's some like light sequencing. So like all of the sound effects and game music for that are like pretty like 8-bit sounding and kind of simplistic. But yeah, that was like kind of where I started. And then actually a couple years later, we ended up doing a second game together, and that was like his game that he had been sort of working on for a while. It's kind of like an asynchronous sort of like bullet hell shooter. Both of these games, by the way, are for iOS. But that game was called Starlicker, and I also did the music and sound design for that, and that was like probably the first like more legit game that I actually worked on.
Cool. And as far as like
there's
how
been
you got
some other ones since then.
And so like is that the same game designer on Demonschool then? Is that how you got drafted to do that, or like how'd you come into this project?
Yeah, that's actually a different designer. So there was a couple years after that, like just coincidentally, I think like I was introduced to this guy Brandon Sheffield, who is the director for Necrosoft, which is the studio behind Demonschool. He approached me in like, I think I met him just through the internet, through like maybe in 2013, 2012, somewhere around there. He was just a fan of now the next band I played in after the first one I was talking about, called Ice Choir. I think you mentioned it before. So he was just a fan of that music and was like, hey, do you make music for video games? Like, I feel like your music would kind of work for that. And I was like, actually, I have made a video game. I made a couple. So he was like, oh, cool. So yeah, we kind of developed a working relationship. I did one game for Necrosoft before this one, and that game was called Hyper Gunsport. Came out in like 2020 or 2021, depending on if you remember the Google Stadia. Most people don't. It was originally released for Google Stadia in 2020 and then re-released in like 2021, 22 as Hyper Gunsport. So that was the last game I did. And then Demonschool is the one that just came out today.
Awesome. So I've been listening to the soundtrack a little bit ahead of this interview just for preparation, and like a couple of tracks that really stood out to me were like the Wednesday Battle action and the shopping one. I like those personally because they remind me a lot of your Ice Choir stuff. So I like those stuck out to me, but also the mansion and boss battle action theme I think are really, really awesome tracks that kind of encompass the aesthetic of the game, or at least what I think they were going for. Did you have any tracks on the soundtrack that you're particularly happy with how they turned out?
Yeah, I mean, overall it's like pretty happy with the whole thing. I mean, I think there was like maybe some tracks that I like pushed myself a little bit more on stylistically this time around, which like I think were more of a win for me. Definitely like the Weekend tracks I think were the Weekend. Well, one of them is a Weekend track. One of them is like actually the cooking game track, cooking mini game. They're like the kind of chiller sort of like Bob James style things. Like I never really made any kind of 70s sort of like AOR kind of music like that, to that degree at least. And I thought that was like an interesting challenge to sort of figure out. I'm not like a keyboard player, so like how do I like communicate these very like keyboard centric songs in a sort of like fake way that's passable as authentic. And I think I was sort of successful with those. A lot of cool string arrangements for that I was pretty happy with for those tracks. And then what's another one? I think the last like, I don't want to spoil it, but it's like the final boss battle music. There's like a track on the soundtrack that's like almost 9 minutes long, and it's kind of like a 3-phase battle track, and I'm pretty happy with that one. It just kind of, you know, runs a lot of different sort of like 70s prog rock style within one sort of evolving piece, and yeah, I'm just pretty psyched about that one.
Yeah, that one is really good. I didn't want to throw it on the stream at all because it was the final boss battle theme, and I know that might be a little spoilery for some people, but the length and the evolution of that song from beginning to end definitely stood out.
Yeah, that was like a really interesting sort of challenge working on that track, because the director sort of like, he asked me, you know, he's like, okay, so I would love to have a track that's like just really like focused around organ. Like, and he sent me some references that were like, you know, like Shin Megami Tensei kind of stuff, and like obviously Castlevania 4 soundtrack has like a lot of that kind of like, you know, just organ big reverb in a church kind of a thing. And it's like, I don't know, I mean that music is like, to me, just sounds like kind of like Bach or something, and I don't really listen to classical music at all, so it was this sort of interesting challenge to kind of like just do a crash course in that kind of music and see if I could pull off making a song that sounded like that. And yeah, once again, I'm not like a keyboard player. I don't listen to classical music at all, so it was like very
I mean, you're not
it was a fun challenge to like
there. Just like write a quick fugue in a minor key, and you're like 90% of the way to a Castlevania sounding track. So
right.
So that kind of leads into my next question. You mentioned that Brandon has sent you over some reference tracks. So I was curious about how you go about writing a song. Like, how much do you know about the context it's going to be used in? Like, do they say this is for a boss battle? This, like, do you know what the boss looks like, or is it just like, write me an epic boss battle theme that is like this song from Castlevania?
Yeah, it's interesting. I would say like there were certain tracks where we knew where they were definitely going to go. We knew what like the vibe was going to be for that. And then there were some other ones where it's just like we need as much music as you can make. So like, here's some references to kind of, and just go for it, you know? So like, for example, the final boss battle, like we knew that was going to be this kind of like, you know, when it goes into the planning phase, it's like very starkly different than some of the other ones. It's just like kind of organ by itself. And then like the rest of the music kind of swells in. So we knew that we wanted that to be this like kind of stark thing for that specific moment. But then there were some other parts where it was just like, oh, also like the Weekend track, great example. Like we knew we wanted it to be very different there. Kind of have like a totally different, kind of more fun, sort of laid back feel. But yeah, the rest of it, it's like where it's a little bit more just like kind of spooky or mysterious kind of music. I just was, you know, creating a ton of stuff. And I think one part of your question was what were like some of the references, right? Yeah, so definitely a lot of like the Italian kind of late 70s horror composers, like Lucio Fulci, that director. Definitely, like, Brandon sent me a bunch of stuff from his movies. You know, obviously the Goblin composer Claudio Simonetti. For me, I kind of had my own sort of proclivities that I wanted to like sort of impose upon the soundtrack as well. So he was like very cool about just like, okay, let's do this, but then like I also like have kind of my own vision of like late 70s music that I sort of want to capture for the soundtrack, and he was like very cool, just kind of, you know, arriving at something that was sort of like not just that, you know, not just like sort of like 70s horror film stuff, but something that had like a little bit more like funky kind of aspect to it, and there's a lot of sort of emphasis on like the rhythm section for all of this music, and that's mostly because like I'm like, I don't know, I don't really consider myself to like really play like anything super well, but if I had to like pick one instrument that I was like decent at, I'd say probably like bass or drums. So there's like a heavy focus on all the music being very centered around like kind of the rhythm section, like drums super loud, bass like a focal point for all the music melodically and also just like mix wise. So there was like, you know, that whole aspect, like, you know, making that a part of the, you know, part of the mix.
Cool. I've got just a couple more questions for you here, and then I can let you go. And that actually answer leads into my next one really well. Could you tell us just a little bit about like your workflow and how you created this? Like, what are we listening to when we hear this soundtrack? Is it all programmed? Is there any live instruments there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm working on the computer. That's the short answer. Yeah, I mean, I write everything like kind of at the same time. I would say like I have, to start out a track, I'll kind of like generally have, a bass patch open, just drums. In this case, for the most part, like it was kind of like a live kit thing. By the way, it's all the drums are like programmed. The bass is, some of it's programmed and some of it's programmed how I would play it, and some of it is played by me like on the bass for certain songs. The reason why I didn't play all of the bass parts was because I was going for a very specific bass tone. I was like this for like 90% of this record, the tone I was going for was Alan Spanner on the Roxy Music song, Same Old Scene.
All right.
So like I was able to capture that with like a plugin. I don't have a Music Man bass. It's like a very specific tone, like through like a kind of like very specific sort of amp sound. And so like I was able to capture that, I think, pretty well, like using, like some Contact library stuff. And that was like kind of like the main tone. And then I played some other bass parts. All the guitar is live. None of the drums are live except for the percussion stuff. I played all of the little like percussion accoutrements, and I did play all of the drum parts just on like a MIDI keyboard. But yeah, that's kind of how I did it. And then obviously there's a lot of rhythm box stuff for all like the planning phase stuff and some of like the story adventure mode things. Like there's a lot of that. A lot of like kind of late 70s rhythm box stuff, Ace Tone and etc. Echo. Yeah. CR78.
Cool. Yeah, I like hearing a little bit about how it's made. So yeah, again, I really thank you for joining me tonight on this. Your soundtrack is awesome. I'm enjoying the game, but the soundtrack just adds a lot to it. That's something that literally every reviewer that I've seen that has reviewed this game has made specific mention of your soundtrack and what it brings to the game. So you did a fantastic job. Is there anything that you'd like to plug tonight before I let you go? What do you got planned next, or any more soundtracks, more Ice Choir?
Yeah, I mean, right now, first off, thank you for saying that. That's very kind of you. And thank you, chat, for tuning in. I'm not on the stream right now, so I don't know who's here or if there's anyone here.
Yeah, we got about 10 viewers, 10 steady viewers that way.
Awesome. Yeah. What do I have going next? I guess there's no like new soundtracks booked right now. I also have like a day job, so where I do sound design related stuff, but it's more like on the corporate side. So I do like app sound design and kind of like sound logo work, but that's like my main job. So I'm always going to be doing that. This project was like kind of like a weekend thing for me. So it'll be nice having the weekends back for a little bit. I'm doing like kind of mastering work. There is another Ice Choir record. I know you were asking about that. There's another Ice Choir record that I have mostly produced, written. I took a break from it for a while, obviously, just to like kind of finish this up. There's some other like not Ice Choir music I'm probably going to release before that. And then, there's another project I probably shouldn't talk about that's not really music. Really, it's not going to be an album or something, but it's like a music related thing that will be out pretty soon, I guess.
Oh yeah, well, very cool. It's all exciting stuff. And again, I love what I've heard of the soundtrack. And love what I've seen of the game, and I'm super, super appreciative of you joining me here for this tonight.
No worries. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yep. All right. I will let you get out of here, Kurt.
Cool. Thank you, everyone.
Yep. So yeah, that was a lot of fun talking to Kurt there. I thank everybody for joining me for this tonight. I'm a very small creator, so this is the most viewers I've ever had on Twitch at once. But this is the type of stuff I really wanted to do when I started my channel. So it was exciting to be able to get something like this done so early into it. If anybody would be so kind as to follow me here on Twitch, that would be a huge help. I also have a gaming YouTube channel. That's Anthony's Game Corner. The URL is youtube.com/@Anthony's Game Corner. Again, any follows over there is the single biggest thing somebody can do to help a creator like me grow. I'm not going to bore you guys with any more of my talking at this point, any more of my streaming. I'm going to end it here on a good note. We all saw Kurt, and that's what we were here for. So